You are listening to Deconstruction Podcast, presented by the Architectural Authority magazine.
Previous to wealth being spelled the way it is, it came from the spelling of wealth being W-E-L-L-T-H, which is that of creating abundance. Okay. At some point, several hundred years ago, it shifted from that of being focused on abundance and joy to that being of accumulation of things. Now, I believe we're, as a collective in human consciousness, I believe we are transitioning in a very interesting way. And that my belief is that in the future, wealth will be measured differently and back to its original roots. And that is of, the level of joy and gratitude, abundance that you feel beyond just the matter.
This episode is brought to you by Anima Domus, South Florida's premier destination for contemporary, made-in-Italy furniture, featuring the region's largest in-stock selection of Italian brands. Their expert team guides clients from furniture selection to complete space planning. With in-house logistics and white glove delivery, every detail is handled seamlessly. To learn more, visit animadomus.com.
This is Deconstruction, a space where we explore the ideas, trends, and stories shaping the world of architecture, design, and construction. From creative vision to business challenges, we dive into everything influencing the industry and how to navigate it. This podcast is produced by the Architectural Authority magazine, a platform committed to supporting creators and giving voice to those who turn vision into reality. Today's guest is Christopher Mackin, a wealth advisor and conscious capitalist strategist whose work sits in the intersection between finance, purpose, and environmental stewardship. Christopher has spent the last 19 years advising entrepreneurs, creatives, and capital holders. His path expanded after a transformative journey that led him into integrate wealth management with conscious energy work and ecological responsibility. He is the author of Conscious Wellth, founder of Sacred Ohms and Arcadia, and board member and advisor to multiple impact-driven organizations, and is an active investor and philanthropist. His work is rooted in elevating human consciousness, protecting our oceans, and providing access to clean water globally. In this conversation, we explore how mindset, money, and responsibility intersects, and how our relationship with wealth quietly shape the built environment. Welcome, Christopher.
Great to be here, Adriana.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here and bringing all of the information that you carry and you express into the world.
It's a pleasure.
I already recorded the intro here, but the idea of this first question is, what from your personal journey brought you to this intersection between wealth and the consciousness, the whole model of your I would say your personality.
Thank you for that. Well, I guess I would start off by sharing how I got into the wealth part,
Exactly.
and then how I bridged in the consciousness piece. Growing up, I had an experience in my early teenage years where I witnessed my parents arguing about money, and it created a story. I created a story around that experience. I wound up falling asleep that night, crying myself to sleep, and waking up the next morning, promising myself that I would never ask my parents again for money. I would be independent. I would take care of myself. I would, and this is at the time I'm like 13, 14 years old, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I made those commitments to myself. And from that point forward, I wound up dropping my sports, getting a job, starting to collect as much money as I could, and be independent. And throughout that period of time, I observed how important it felt for me to help people that I like, to help my parents with their money, and for me to help other people with their money decisions. So that's why I wound up going to college and specializing in majoring in economics, and decided to be a wealth advisor, financial advisor, financial planner, whatever you want to call it. And that experience of being a financial advisor, first helping my family and friends and others, um, it was an eye-opening experience just to understand how little people speak about money with each other, especially specifically in family
Mm-hmm.
relationships. And as my as time went on in my career, where I went beyond like the people I knew and started
Mm-hmm.
connecting with people I didn't know, um, I think it started to kind of take me away from my initial purpose in joining to help people, and really like it started to come back to like the accumulation of things.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point in time in my 30s, or early 30s, where I reached a good amount of financial success. I was doing something I enjoyed so much, and saw the transformation that people were happening working with me, and I was unhappy. I was living in New
Mm-hmm.
York, like I mean, Soho and Manhattan, just like traveling and doing all sorts of things. And what I ultimately realized was that there was a big component missing from that, and that was my emotional health, my physical health, and my mental health. It was an area that I didn't pay much attention to because I was
Mm-hmm.
focused on the building and the doing and the. So yeah, it was in that understanding and awareness that I decided to make a shift and start working with life coaches and joining masterminds and going on retreats. And it really transformed my life. It really got me back to focusing on specifically those areas that I wasn't before.
Mm-hmm.
And now understanding, that energy, right? Energetics are like
Uh-huh.
99% of our universe. 1% matter, but most of us just
Yeah.
focus on the 1%, which is the accumulation of things. So, yeah, my work is very focused on kind of bridging the energetics with the pragmatic, like the physical,
Mm-hmm.
and helping people overcome the limiting beliefs and the scarcity mindset
Mm-hmm.
that overtakes a lot of their way of being.
It's more common than not having successful people feeling unhappy
Of
and being
course.
sick, and that's most of the reason I will say for having this conversation is how we can be successful and be healthy and be happy and have all it, because it's
Yeah.
the majority especially in our industry, in the construction industry, the accumulation is what is it.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I had a call this morning with someone who had connected me, I'd connected with a few years ago, and he shared with me that he started up a new endeavor. And I was looking behind him. He had a picture of all the different logos of the
Different companies,
businesses
uh-huh.
and things, and there's quite a few. And he started to ask me about what I was up to and updates since we last spoke a few years ago. And he was like, "How do you do it all?" I'm like,
Hmm.
because he was like, "Oh, I'm really busy and all these things." And I'm like, "Okay, that's great. And how do you do it all?" And my response was building great teams,
Exactly.
right? And the my belief, and I believe this to be very true, is that the way we show up as a leader and our focus is like what the values of our organization is, kind of bleeds out to the people that support us,
Hmm.
right? Like they're an extension of us, right? And if
Totally.
we can, as leaders,
Hmm.
as we're building teams and training teams to really like incorporate our values, to understand what our values are, make sure our team understands the
Hmm.
values, and to integrate those together in the way we operate and run as a company.
Correct, correct. I wanted to go back to the moment in your story and journey where you maybe was a situation, a hard situation that you incorporated this conscious mindset into your profession, because you told me the story about how you got into wealth, into that, and this is pretty, set it the struggle in life take us to our most, path, the strongest. But
Yeah,
what in your life happened to make you switch that accumulation mindset? Like it has, and a person, a situation, because sometimes the dark night, or many people call it different
of
ways.
course. Yeah.
When you have your awakening, when you have your aha moment and say, okay, I have everything that everybody wants and I'm not happy. So what makes you get to the moment? Most people said, okay, COVID, the confinement. Other people say, okay, the bankruptcy. But in the case of successful people, that is not the case. You just feel sad. You just feel okay.
Yeah.
I've been working for 10 years and I have everything that I dream of and I'm not fulfilled. So
Mm.
that and the people that is behind you, because you have always, as a leader, you have people looking at you as your example. And if they see that the end all be all is the money, they will follow that path. But when they see people successful, transforming their life and creating businesses and companies and affecting or intervening the world in a different way, they start thinking, okay, it's not it. We have
Mm.
more of it. We can create something different with what we have. We can follow our dreams. We can, incorporate, integrate. So, do you have a breaking point in your life that make you
I don't have one specific moment. It seems like it's like chapters.
okay?
Um, One of the first shifts that occurred to me was actually not initiated by me. It was initiated with someone I was working with at the time, and I felt there was a little bit of I don't know. Our business lacked a little bit of depth,
Okay.
right? We're Scorpios, right? We
We
really
want that.
enjoy,
I
like,
need that.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's not funny.
yeah. So I felt that the work that I was doing at the time was just like cookie cutter
Hmm.
and really wasn't diving deep into, values and really understanding what people were wanting to accomplish.
Hmm.
It was more or less kind of checking off some boxes, right? Asking them very qualitative data, or I'm sorry, quantitative data, and us presenting quantitative data back.
Hmm.
Where I started working with a coach who made me think more qualitative,
Okay.
right? And instead of focusing on the numbers per se,
Hmm.
like how much do you have to invest, how much do you want to live on, et
And
cetera, et cetera, et
the
cetera.
impact.
One of the first questions that I ask people now is, when you think about money, what needs, concerns, or feelings come to mind?
Exactly.
Right.
What are
So
you
it's
trying to obtain?
so it's just a shift. I guess one of the initial realization points for me was understanding like the shift that could occur in the way I'm speaking to people, the
Hmm.
conversations that I'm having with people about money.
Hmm.
Because honestly, like, talking about money every single day, all day long, like, it's it works for some people, not for others. And I
Hmm.
think for me, wanting to bring a little bit more depth and playfulness, and
Hmm.
really moving beyond just the numbers and thinking of how can I help people actually accomplish the things that are important to them in life.
Yeah, because
And
the result, like the response is not money. The response usually is something else. What money means to you means travel, means happiness, mean having free time, means having the perfect food in Italy, means what
yeah,
means for you, what having economical resources mean to you. Because sometimes I would love to, people start looking at their businesses are the means to an end, and what's the end
yeah,
to accomplish whatever they really want. If you want to be every day, I'm a runner, so I love to wake up sunrise, run, do my meditation, and run. So for me, having that, because at the moment I was having building my company, so I
mhm,
couldn't do the running at the moment that I wanted. So
mm,
creating enough. eh, the perfect team, the perfect environment for me to allow myself only to run. That was my dream, to have enough free time to
yeah.
do my run, my meditation. So money means many, many things to everybody.
Of course. And depending on whatever actions that we take that require us to create a certain level, it creates, obviously can create certain pressures of us to need to work harder to create more, and so on. And I guess the second part of the question that you had asked me before about a kind of a turning point for me, I think the icing on the cake for me, there was a lot of things that happened between what I'm about to tell you and my first period of time where I started to kind of shift how I spoke to clients about money. During COVID, I actually lived on a mega yacht for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine I helped him purchase one. He had just sold his company, and I was traveling the world, and I never. When I was younger, I spent a lot of time on boats. I love boats. It's just being on the waters. It's a special place for me, and realizing this dream of like not only being on a mega yacht, but like living on one.
Exactly. You were there.
I was there, crew of 15,
Mhm.
185-foot boat. Like, I mean,
Being pampered the whole
I was
day.
at St. Bart's for New Year's with all
Mhm.
the other mega yachts, and observing that the culture, observing the people. We
Mhm.
met other people that own boats, and
Mhm.
just
Yes.
paying attention, listening, hearing, seeing. That was icing on the cake for me to understand that really, even if you have
Mhm.
billions of dollars,
Mhm.
that there's a lot of unhappy people out there. They just have different. They
Exactly.
just have different needs, concerns, or feelings, right? Or issues, or scarcity mindset for whatever reasons that they have
Mhm.
them, but
Mhm.
they exist. It doesn't
Different
mean
set of
that they
issues.
go away as you grow. And what I think like gets to be done is that people just make it the choice. I don't want to be this way anymore. I observe that I want to make a change
Mhm.
and work with someone to help shift.
Correct.
Right.
Because one of the issues that I think people get disconnected from consciousness and, and awakening and all of that is that they believe that if you are a conscious professional, you have to be poor, you have to be hippie. So that's why I love to have this conversation with you,
Yeah.
because it's the opposite. Like having being conscious, enjoying life, being focused on the things that really matter doesn't need to relate to that. I'm a super, in my business, I was square, and I couldn't let myself relax until I have certain amount of, sustain and a structure around me. But I couldn't even entertain the idea of bringing spirituality or anything into my life, because I thought that will lead me to a scarcity again, because my life as a childhood, my childhood was very, very complicated. So I was running away from that, and when I finally got it, how I'm going to connect that with spirituality is, for me, spirituality or consciousness, or the being connected to yourself. Because the idea is, if you have enough wealth, and then you have the time to think, right? Because when you don't have enough wealth, you don't have free time. When you have it, how you go in and create something that it's also sustainable economically, and also align with your values, your mission, your idea of giving back to society or anything, because there is a lot of people only accumulating, and there is now an increasing amount of people that are using that gift, because abundance is a gift, to provide, to create awareness, to help others in the way of, okay, there is a way of doing it. There is a way of not being hippie and being conscious. You don't need to sell like jewelry in a old town, because it's part of the misconception. Especially Latin Americans, we have that connection.
Mm. Yeah, I think when I hear you speaking, it reminds me of it goes back to that conversation that we were having earlier around the leadership,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can be a conscious leader
Mm-hmm.
and lead from a place of your deep core values, um, instill those values in the organization, and build. When you're surrounded, when you know that like everything that you've built is like just super aligned with like how you want to be, how you want to show up, how you want to design, how you want to architect, how you want to create, there's a self-fulfilling prophecy that starts
Mm-hmm.
to occur
Mm-hmm.
where you're like enjoying yourself so much, you're thriving, you're really like
Mm-hmm.
in a space of like ease and flow, and that creates
Yes.
more abundance,
Most of
or
that, exactly.
or
Exactly.
like there's a magnetization that occurs when you're really in your deep purpose and connected with what
Your flow.
you're flowing, and that winds up creating more flow
More of
towards
that.
you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I recognize where for some people it could be very challenging for them to shift, right?
There's a lot of
And
fear.
I have this way of doing things, and
Mm-hmm.
that if I think of doing things, this way, then my career is at risk, my business is at risk. It
Mm-hmm.
happens,
Fear.
in the financial world all the time. My one of my focuses and how I help people is um, usually during a period of transition in their life where they're like exiting a company,
Mm-hmm.
and I help them deploy the proceeds of the sale of their company alongside of their values.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Very simple approach in how we do it. Other advisors that I know don't even mention aligning their investments with their values, because they're nervous that if by taking something out of the portfolio
Mm-hmm.
that is going to reduce the return, and then the client's going to be unhappy, and then they're
Numbers.
going to leave. It's scarcity mindset, right?
Exactly.
Like, that's all it is. So
Mm-hmm.
whether you're in construction or finance or technology or
Mm-hmm.
what have you, I think ultimately we want to get to the way of leading with your truth,
Mm-hmm.
and that could create a deconstructing process
Mm-hmm.
to occur, and failure, or businesses to implode. But what gets created from that is
When new
even more
businesses.
magnificent, beautiful, aligned with your dharma, with your path, with whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want to call it. And what better way to live your life than like in a way that's like truly connected to like who you are and where you are at this moment in your life. Right?
Totally. I wanted to go back to the term that you mentioned of wealth. So
Mm.
explain us a little bit of, because all of this that we are talking about, you are trying to, through your offering to the world, which is your different businesses, um, try to explain this change of mindset through this word. So explain us a little bit
Yeah.
what's the meaning of it and how we can start using it.
So, wealth,
Mm-hmm.
as you might think it to be spelled Wealth,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the definition of wealth in
Mm-hmm.
that spelling is a measure of of accumulation of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
right? Measure of your possessions.
Matter.
Yes. Um, Previous to wealth being spelled the way it is, it came from the spelling of wealth being Wellth, which is
Mm-hmm.
that of creating abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At some point, several hundred years ago, it shifted from that of being focused on abundance and joy to that being of accumulation of things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe we're, as a collective and human consciousness, I
Mm-hmm.
believe we are transitioning
Remembering.
in a very interesting way. And that my belief is that in the future, wealth will be measured differently, and back to its original roots.
We are in the
And
future
that
already.
is of, the level of joy and gratitude, abundance that you feel,
Mm-hmm.
beyond just the matter. So,
We are in the future now. We are already measuring that way.
yeah.
Most of the people that
Yeah.
surround us and in the environments that we are jumping into are measuring that way. And I do believe that when people get connected into those networks, that's the reason that we are vibrating into the same, we have
Yeah.
the same thoughts. We believe kind of the same. Maybe we are now putting the word to that feeling or that.
I think a little bit, I've having spent, the past, like, call it 10 years, with a
Mm-hmm.
relatively newer community of people, people that have a little bit more of a deeper understanding and connection with spirituality and the
Mm-hmm.
interconnectedness of all things. And um, I I still see a lot of the old mindset around money,
Yeah, we are
right?
deconstructing it now. That's
Yeah, I
the
mean, and I
process.
think that's
Is
part of.
dismantling.
Yeah, I got called to write a book when I was in a Vipassana meditation in India a couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting ready to launch that next
Ah,
month, I believe. So I think part of the reason
conscious wealth, right?
it's actually called True Wealth.
Oh.
Just changed the name a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I feel I don't know. I was I got the download. I don't know if
Yes.
many people are going to resonate with that, but I did receive
They
a
will.
message very clearly in my body to write this book. And what I heard was that what you're meant to create will come. Just write the book and commit to it. So I did that. And yeah, I'm curious to see how it all plays out. But I think, if I look forward in the deconstruction that is occurring in terms of replacement, the systems,
they're
technology,
falling.
and so on, replacing, manual labor in a lot of different areas, I think people are going to have to start to deconstruct who they thought they were,
Mm-hmm.
and explore,
I love
those
that.
inner depths. And to me, I think is always divine timing of
Totally.
things, but a good time to release my book. So.
Yes, but I do believe that it's not about forgetting. It's about remembering who you are, but forgetting that you are what you do. Because in my case, in my personal case, I was associated. My identity was associated with what I do. So Adriana is an architect. It's a builder, but not. So that's part of when you start going back to understand what you really are. You start changing the way that you show yourself, your businesses, you impact everything that you touch, because everybody has their own gifts. So in the way that your gift of understanding wealth, because it's for many people, they struggle to understand how money works. So my next question is, how do you think, well, first, what do you think is the first or the most common uh, problem that people find with wealth? Like there is a misconception about wealth. What your clients, the people around you, what's the struggle, the challenge?
That there's not enough.
That there is not enough.
Yeah, that they don't have enough to talk to a financial advisor, that they don't have enough to retire, that they don't have enough to sustain their lifestyle, that they don't have enough to make their bill payments, that they don't have enough to. It continues, and those people don't are not all homeless,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a fear. Um, ultimately a lot of our fears stem from just a fear of death. So
Mm-hmm.
if you take like a fear of I might not have enough money, and if
Mm-hmm.
you boil it down to, okay, I may not have enough money, okay, well, what happens if you don't have enough money? Well, my partner might leave me. Well, what happens if your partner leaves you? Well, I'll be lonely. Well, what happens if you're lonely? If
Mm-hmm.
you boil that down, um, eventually it usually gets to fear of death.
Okay.
Okay, and um, I say that in that uh, people, you know, often associate this like running out as like an emptiness, that there's like nothing else that exists, that they are, you know, uh, that they just like evaporate if like there's no money
Exactly.
there. And, you know, bottom line is,
It's not gonna
unless they
happen.
kill themselves or jump off a bridge, that they still exist, even if the money runs out, even if the business fails, even if XYZ occurs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, to me, a lot of the work I do is helping people understand, what they want, because most people don't take the time to think about what they want. They think about it, it's like in their mind, but they don't map it out. They don't create a plan, and um, the universe doesn't really know. So it's like, oh, maybe I'll send you over here, maybe I'll send you over there. I think most people kind of live in this autopilot
Because they don't
mentality.
ask themselves their question. For me, it's asking yourself what you really want, what you really are, it's part of the process that we are now going through after COVID, and that's led us here.
Yeah, I do it every year. I'm like, okay, where are you at right now? Because we change as people, we change so much over
Completely.
time. This, and I think it's good to check in on like where you're at, like what has changed in your life. Like, oftentimes I think when um, I think we want different things throughout our lifetime.
Mhm, mhm,
And I think that there's a point in time usually, and we're in Miami, so not as much down here, where people tend to understand that like accumulation of things isn't like what finds them the happiness. And
mhm.
being, showing off and doing all of those
Miami.
sorts of things. But I, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I think ultimately it's good to just check in, whether it be once a year, once a quarter, once every couple of years, and tune in and like looking at your wealth plan is what I
Mm-hmm.
call it, and seeing if those things that are in there like really still resonate with you. Is that like your path that you're on, like that you feel that you continue want to walk towards or run towards?
How is the experience of working with you as an advisor? How that starts? Like, what are the first? Walk me through a first call with a client that they call you, they book a consult
Discovery
a
call.
discovery call with
Hmm.
you. What's different about this way of looking at wealth?
Yeah. So based on my experience and understanding of what other people are doing, like kind of a big difference is that instead of kind of approaching it where I have like a doctor intake form where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, give
Check
me
in,
your
check in.
name, address, how much is yours in your 401k, how much do you have as a pension, what's your income, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, During that first call, we ask a variety of different questions around 7 major life themes.
Okay.
Again, I shared the first question before, but some other questions that I would ask are: where do you see yourself in 10 years, in 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
What are your quality of life desires? What does impact mean to you? What does legacy mean to you? What do you want to do for your children? What do you want to do for the world at large? Um, so, by me understanding the things that are really important
For
to these
them. Mm-hmm.
people, understanding the family dynamics that they have, understanding why they got into their career. Did they
Mm-hmm.
get into their career because they really love it, or because their parents were like, yeah, we don't want
Family
you to,
business.
we don't want you, we don't think you can be an artist, but we recommend you're a doctor, right? So understanding all of those things so that I can really so that I can really get to know them as a person, where they're at and like where they want to go. I've
Mm-hmm.
helped people.
Humanizing finance, humanizing that, because
I
we are
think,
humans. It's a trend that I see in different careers, because now we are humanizing architecture with neuroscience, neuroarchitecture, like
of course, how it all
biohacking. We
integrates all in
So
together.
humanizing all of the different careers and professions, starting for if finance is key, because without that structure, the root, how you can create a new way of living,
Yeah,
like that's.
oftentimes it's finance that holds people back
Mm-hmm.
from investing in themselves, investing in their health, investing in their future, etc. So by that serving as a foundation and looking at that holistically,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are your surroundings like?
Mm-hmm.
Like this space that we're in. Oh my gosh, it like feels so good, and it looks so good here,
Mm-hmm.
right? You had a vision in mind. There was a feeling that you wanted people to have when they came here and came on your
Mm-hmm.
podcast. How you wanted them to feel this elegance, the gold, the black, the
Mm-hmm.
the just shiny.
Seen,
Yeah.
seen.
So I think going through that process and allowing people to share where they're at, right? Again, with that person that maybe was in a career where I listened and heard them saying,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I'm doing really well, but like I'm burnt out, blah,
I
blah,
hate my
blah.
work.
Like asking them the question around, do you really feel called to be doing this anymore? Do you feel a calling to something else that is a greater purpose that you have for this next stage of life? And then being a true wealth advisor
Mm-hmm.
and helping them navigate that situation, taking into consideration not only their existing finances,
Mm-hmm.
but all the tools that are available in the universe to help them
Mm-hmm.
accomplish the things that are important to them.
Perfect. Can you
Yeah.
mention some of the tools that people has that you contribute to in that process? Like when people
Yeah.
get lost, what do you recommend them to do? Because the majority of the people that trying to look for an advisor is because they feel that they need support.
Yeah.
So, what kind of support above and beyond the typical financial advisor you think you provide?
Hmm. I think I spoke to some of it just around like the beyond the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there is, the if you look at someone and just have a conversation, right, where they're doing something now, they want to transition, but they maybe most people in America don't have savings. They don't have like 3 to 6 months of
They
savings,
leave.
no matter a few $1,000,000 to work with someone like myself personally. So the question is like, okay, like where do I start?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like how do I get from where I am to where I want to be? Um, and like working with someone to kind of help them navigate that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask like around like what my special tools are, I am a wizard, and there are just, I think it's just information, knowledge, awareness of what
Mm-hmm.
is out there that exists to help use to support that person in whatever it is that they need. Right. One of the, I think, most foundational pieces to uh, financial planning is like risk and also with growing a business.
Mm-hmm.
When people think about wanting to grow their business, a lot of them think, all right, how do I make more money?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, and how do you actually reduce the risk
Mm-hmm.
maybe first? Meaning whether it be concentration of clients, whether it be um, people that are working for you and potentially money leaking out of the
Mm-hmm.
business, or just even your own protection from like an insurance standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like where are you exposed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you do make this transition to doing things in a different way, you want to have that structure, the risk
Mm-hmm.
that's somewhat managed. And I think that that's a really important like anchor to anyone considering a shift or building a foundation to their future financial wealth, is really having that, like looking at things from a risk management standpoint.
Yes. I want your help to try to change the way that people in my industry, architects, designers, creatives, and the builders see money, see success, because they usually have an scarcity mindset, and I want you to get a little bit of more educate us about what scarcity in this context means and how we can help them see.
My uncle was a very well-known architect.
We're
His
creatives.
name was Bernard Sywinski, and one of the things that I really appreciated about him and his career was that he was just so passionate about his work.
We love what we
Like
do.
the him seeing someone walk into a new building that was just built that he designed, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing like
Everything,
them
everything.
experience, was like that was what brought him alive and kept him along his path. So, and we were talking earlier about ontological design, like as an architect,
Mm-hmm.
creating a space, as a creator, creating spaces where people feel all of their senses are brought to life
Mm-hmm.
in a variety of different ways. So, if I think about how that relates to money, um, consider how you feel when you interact with your money. What do you feel? What is the experience? Is
Mm-hmm.
it tightness? Is it, oh, that thing is expensive? Like what are
Uh-huh.
the things
What
that
are you saying to
what are you
yourself?
saying to yourself? Right? Because your words are extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Totally.
I can't even begin to say how powerful words are. Um, so if we're speaking
Mm-hmm.
even internally or externally in a certain way that doesn't support a more abundant, like infinite wealth possibility,
Limitless, uh-huh.
we're gonna continue to bury ourselves deeper into scarcity mindset. So I think as people in your industry, and I work with several people in like construction in New York, developers and so on, helping, and engineers. I understand it's
Mathematic, you like structure.
I understand. So when you think about the structures that you're building, look at your financial structures, right? Like the foundation
Mm-hmm.
that's been built in your system from inherited belief systems and the patterns that, for yourself have been, decades that you've
Mm-hmm.
built upon,
Correct.
right? What needs to happen in order for you to look at and experience money in a different way? You can't just like, paint from black to white without putting on several coats.
Primer, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
It's a process.
So do we want to
Takes
like
time.
paint on top, like redesign existing infrastructure, or do we want to deconstruct the complete thing, demo the building, and restart from scratch?
Mm-hmm.
Right. In my opinion, the demo is the best, right? Because you can build it with pure clarity, the way you exactly want. Everything is designed in the way that you want. In order to do that, it requires a lot more commitment.
Correct.
So depending on whatever level of commitment people are willing to make, depends on the approach that I would take or that they would take in terms of reconstructing their minds around money.
Yeah, because if you don't change the way that you see money and receiving money and because money is energy, right?
Yeah.
So it's an energy that and I think you have this flows, no, this information, this framework to explain us regarding how the energy and the money flows, right? So if money is energy, how it should work,
So
how it started, how moving, how
yeah. So there's a saying: if you don't change the way you look at things, the things you look at don't change.
mm-hmm.
Or maybe if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's just
so
perspective.
yeah. So from uh, uh, from a lens of looking at money as energy, right? Beyond the bills, whatever when you go on
Mm-hmm.
your bank, you see your balances, or whether you're doing things old school and writing up in books and records, or whatever you're doing. Um, Understanding that there's a few different ways that you get to relate, that you can consider relating to money, and that um, it's in flow,
Uh-huh.
right? It's a current.
It's a
See?
current.
So when I talk about it being in flow, meaning that as money's coming in, being grateful for that, and taking it in from the people that you feel most aligned to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it's giving to the things that you actually want to be supporting,
Mm-hmm.
right? The same, I just got and I would say the same with a current, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we look at the money that we have? Are we saying like, oh man, I'm not gonna get enough to get my boat next year with that kind of money? Or are we saying like, wow, I'm making progress on how, what I've been accumulating and creating? Um, I'm excited about, the opportunity to, buy my boat next year
Mm-hmm.
if I want to do that. So it's it's twofold. It's one, recognizing that monies should be kept in flow.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily need to hoard it. There's a very, appropriate way you should, save, accumulate, especially for people that want to retire.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, very important. But beyond your enough number, or and what are you recirculating in terms of philanthropy? How are you giving back to your community,
Mm-hmm.
both in time and money? And then the current, the relationships that we're having, how we're interacting with it, who
Mm-hmm.
we're taking it from, they're all very important.
For me, the same way that I give my work out as a creative or as a builder, with the same energy and passion that I feel it, that I created, it gets back to me in money. And sometimes the projects are not economically as good as the old referrals that I get
Of course.
after I created something that is beautiful, aligned, and creates happiness to my customer. Because sometimes, they don't have the amount of money that you want, but they will bring more to you in different businesses, in different venues, different, because sometimes it's franchises, whatever. See it in the spectrum of real estate, right? But doing something that is aligned with your values is what I think the disconnection in our industry is. The people is creating spaces that are heartless, they don't have soul, and that they try to sell that without soul, and then it's a cycle of creating spaces that have no soul, with money that has no soul, with energy that's stuck.
Mhm.
So in the industry, it's a complicated, I would say, panorama, like scenario.
when I look at the future of our society, I usually see these AI photos that are all like these beautiful buildings with like water flowing everywhere and grass
Green,
and
exactly, inside.
and it's one of the things I really enjoy about my my late uncle's work too, was that he built with nature. He built homes in nature, and he
Possible.
built, he built in a lot of nature elements into his designs. And um, I really do see the benefit of creating future spaces where people are lit up when they come in, right?
Exactly.
So if everyone, if as people are coming in, they're getting lit up, like the energy of that place is just magnificent, right? So it allows you to maybe demand a higher premium for, renting or selling. There are, various aspects that you get to benefit from in doing that. So yeah.
I love, because it's the perfect transition to the topic of the capital and investment. Because it's, for me, I've been trying to it's polish my language, trying to connect with the right people, to being able to make the people that it's investing invest into this new way that we need to build, right? Because we need to build with more awareness or consciousness aligned with where we want to be.
Yeah,
Because I don't want to be in a green box. I want to be in a green box full of nature and light and etc. That's why we spend so much time outdoors, so much time in places that make us feel lit up. How we can bring that into investment, into development, like how, what was it, mindset that we need to infuse them with, so everybody is creating communities and spaces. And I know your different projects, you have one that is pretty interesting because it's infusing wellness, it's infusing this new way of living. Is we are changing as a community, as a society. We don't want to live the same way that we lived before. We want more freedom, we want exposure to nature, we want a different life.
Yeah. What's alive for me in what you shared was, you had, I guess, briefly touched on Arcadia, which is a hospitality and wellness brand. We have our first property that we're building in Mexico City, which is super exciting. It's a combination of experiential wellness, good ontological design. Think of like a Burning Man meets Soho House and Habitas hotels, kind of all mixed together in a melting pot. I really, from a capital perspective, you had shared something around you wanting to polish and refine, and then you pointed to you touched your heart.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's coming from here.
Yeah. So I think the more we lead with our heart and connect in our heart, communicate from our heart, that we will source what is needed for
Manifest
us.
our reality.
Yeah, it's manifestation, but there's, manifestation, my belief is not just sitting there and praying and hoping, and
No, it's action too.
it's definitely action, inspired action, intentional action. So just the awareness of you wanting to make a shift. I don't think that there's you're a very polished woman. You have an extremely impressive career. You not only have built up a great career, but you've been willing to make the sacrifices to deconstruct what it is that you thought, and build anew from that. If you look at most of the people around you, the purpose in you creating this podcast is to encourage people to follow in those footsteps.
Feel safe.
There's no more polishing for you to do. I would just share that with you. The more you continue to just tune in with your intuition, because you're very connected, you know exactly where you're going, and to do that without doubt, just relentless, like lead with heart, you will attract the people that you're meant to be in conversations with.
Mm-hmm.
I
Thank you.
There are many, many, many billionaires
Mm-hmm.
who are starting to think differently.
Exactly.
Um,
I feel that.
I would say that one in particular I just met, I was with a few weeks ago in where was I? I was in Belize, and I met.
The pyramids in Belize are amazing.
Yeah, I went to one, and I met a billionaire while I was there. Background in real estate. Um, Really, he built his entire career in real estate, and I asked him. He's in his later stage of life and career, and I asked him like, what made you shift?
Mm-hmm.
And his response was that he just felt something different. He felt like something leading him down like a different path than the
Mm-hmm.
path that he was on. He got exposed to some level of health and wellness
Mm-hmm.
over his career,
Mm-hmm.
and just listened to what he felt was truth. Right? He was willing to kind of let go his old way of
Mm-hmm.
seeing things and being and creating, and look at things through a new lens. So when
Mm-hmm.
I see the future of construction and real estate, like, this is no surprise that
No.
we're in a very important moment of time where people don't trust the system anymore. Like, they're like, actually, this is like, like, this is not where I want to be. The awareness of our food system, our education system, people are becoming fed up, and to the point where they're like, you know
Totally.
what? I'm not willing to do this the same way anymore. Like, I want to do things differently. So as we look forward in, you know, specifically around capital, there's plenty of money out there. There's infinite
Mm-hmm.
levels of wealth out there. There's
Mm-hmm.
wealth being created every day, whether it be from countries printing money or gold coming out of the
Sorry.
ground or whatever it
Yeah.
is. There's infinite wealth being created every single day. And the more you continue to lead with your heart, connect into the different communities and share from the place of like your truth,
Mm-hmm.
again, you'll attract the people that you're meant to be having conversations with. And um,
I think it's a reality. It's a
yeah.
reality. I feel it, and I'm so grateful for your uh, what you share here,
Mm,
and for the truth of the message, and for the, I will say, the structure that we are creating for something more beautiful to become, because we are creating different. Every of us with their gifts are creating different structures so we can support a change in finance, in construction, in architecture, in law. I met aligned lawyers too.
mhm.
So everybody is getting into a more aligned position where we are going to create something more beautiful
It's
for us.
created already. We're just building and expanding.
Awaken. We are just
Yeah.
awakening to it. Wow, for
Yeah.
people like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Such a pleasure. Thank you
Hmm.
for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Deconstruction Podcast. Your 5-star reviews really help us continue what we do. Please rate your listening experience, and let's keep building this beautiful community together. For exclusive access to more design content, visit thearchitecturalauthority.com or download our app from the App Store or Google Play. Until next time, stay creative.